first thing we need to do is establish our foreground, our middle ground, and our background. The next thing that I want to do is establish my horizon line. Your horizon line is where the sky and land meets. Now that I have my horizon line placed, now I'm going to place where my foreground is, and then I'm also going to place a middle ground. My horizon line is my background. Now that I have all of this established, now I can put in different elements that I found from my reference photos. So for example, I'm drawing in a cactus right now, and I'm just erasing some extra lines, and I also drew a rock at the bottom. I also want to add in another cactus, so in my middle ground area, my near, I drew another cactus, but I made this one slightly smaller because we want to use that size change to make it look like it's going farther back into our drawing. And then in the very background, I'm adding in some rock formations. And then now just to add in some more details, I'm adding in some more cactuses back there to make it look like it's going farther back into space. I've decided to add in a couple trees, and then I thought maybe a skull, and I was really excited for this part because I really love camels. I decided to add in a camel as well. Now that we have our drawing all sketched out, I'm going to import it into Sketches Pro. Once we import it, I'm going to add a new layer, and then what I'm doing now is I'm numbering each layer. It's important to number each layer because next, what I'm going to do is I added a new layer, and this is going to be my very first layer. So with this layer, I'm going to trace over my sketch, and I'm just going to trace over everything in layer number 1, my foreground. Then I'm going to go ahead and add in another layer, which is layer number 2. In this new layer, I am only going to trace over everything that I labeled number 2. This is my near layer. Okay, so all you can see is I'm finishing up tracing everything here, and now I'm going to add another third layer, and here is where I'm going to trace over everything that I labeled number 3. After I do that, I'm going to add another layer and trace over everything that I labeled number 4, which are my rock formations in the background. And then finally, I can go back between each layer and start to add in some more details, which you can see me doing now. What you're going to do next after you're done adding in all of your details is we're going to go back and add another new layer, and we're going to create a value scale by starting with one base color and then selecting darker values of that color and lighter values of that color. Now I'm going in, and my very, very far back layers I want to color in with my lightest values, and then as I'm working my way forward, so I'm going to get darker and darker, more saturated and vibrant values. Darker values come forward, and then with atmospheric perspective, we have that duller, blurrier, hazier values receding into the background, so it appears lighter as it gets farther back. You'll also notice with this tutorial compared to the other one, there's a lot of still different subtle value changes in each layer. So you can add a bunch of more details to make things look more realistic, look like they're popping forward more, such as in my cactuses, you can see that there's a lot of different value changes to make them pop forward, make them stand out. But as I'm working my way back, I'm not using as much details. I'm not using as much value changes. So like my cactuses in my near layer, they have kind of some details, kind of some value changes, but not as much as my foreground. And then my farthest back layer, my cactuses in the back, they have no details at all. And then I'm putting some subtle value changes in my rock formation so you can see the subtle details there as well. And lastly, I'm going in and just cleaning up some areas that need some fixing, need some different value changes, making it more complete, adding more details. And then when I'm completely finished, I want to save this photo to my device and then upload it on Google Classroom for my first CUA grade of the semester. Hope you guys enjoyed learning about atmospheric perspective and starting to think about how space works in your artworks as well.